The Vox Markets Podcast with Justin Waite. Nothing in this podcast is intended as investment advice, and the people in this podcast may hold positions in the stocks they talk about. Do not buy anything based solely on a tip or recommendation. Please do your own research.
Welcome to the podcast on Monday, the 15th of February, 2021. On the podcast today, Dr. Adam Hill, CEO of Oncimmune, ONC, ticker there. And Dr. Adam discusses the highlights from their interim results, in which they report substantial revenue growth with increased commercial activity across the business. Also on the podcast, Alan Green, CEO of Brand Communications, talks about Synairgen, Destiny Pharma, Mode Global Holdings. Plus, as always, at the end of the podcast, I have those two lists for you, top 5 most followed companies on Vox Markets in the last 24 hours, and the top 5 most read RNSs too. You can check those lists out at voxmarkets.co.uk. You'll see lots of other content, including AfriTin, mining hails off-take agreements as tin prices hit record highs. Also, MGC Pharmaceuticals expands cannabinoid study for aggressive glioblastoma treatment. And there's lots of the content there. Tuple as well, one there, one on Oncimmune. And of course, don't forget our COVID-19 index. Biggest rise of there today is Dev Clever, up close to 10%, 28 pence. Biggest faller, N4 Pharma, down 8%, 10.4 pence. Check that out at voxmarkets.co.uk.
Vox Markets is an online community of investors that runs a free mobile and desktop platform that allows you to track news and updates about any UK-listed company, offering RNS push notifications, detailed charts, pricing data, and much more. Find out more at voxmarkets.co.uk/app.
And joining me on the podcast right now is Dr. Adam Hill, CEO of Oncimmune. That's ONC ticker. Adam, thanks for joining me.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, and you got your interim results out and ended the 30th of November 2020. Just been reading through them. You've been very busy, even with lockdown, haven't you?
Yeah, look, it's been a busy period for your listeners. ONC Oncimmune is a specialist immunology business. We focus on autoantibodies, a particular biomarker class that we're world expert in, and we exploit that biomarker class both in the products that we develop for the early detection of cancer, but also in the services that we deliver to our pharmaceutical and biotech customers in the cancer space, the autoimmune space, and the infectious disease space. And the last 6 months has been a smashing 6 months for us, delivering against plan, aligned with market expectation. In fact, year upon year, looking back at the last first half of the last financial year, we I think have done about 6 times the revenue of that period. So wow. So smashing the ball out the ballpark.
Yeah. Well, let's dig into it. Let's look at pick out some of the highlights from the last 6 months if you could, and tell us all about it.
So the major driver for the business has been the contracts that we've had with pharmaceutical companies, 7 in the last period. Roche and Genentech, the two biggies that we've made public, but a couple of other big pharmaceutical companies in there, and a couple of other smaller but well-funded biotechs engaging us through our ImmunoInsight service business to better understand the immune response of patients that they have on clinical trials for their therapeutic assets, and that business, which whilst a service business that gets paid per sample that we analyse, we believe has got tremendous scale to it because it has a proprietary platform technology that allows us to develop foreground intellectual property hand in hand with those pharmaceutical customers, and then hopefully, and we are in the process of proving this business model, but hopefully productize that intellectual property so that we can start to see recurring revenues over and above that service business. Of course, on the other side of the house, our product business has also been going from strength to strength, despite the fact that much of healthcare services has been focused on the pandemic response, marginalising cancer services and the like. We are starting to now see an opening up of those services once again. And prior to Christmas, we were able to announce the first NHS region in East Anglia adopting early CDT lung. They're doing over 2,000 patients over the next few months. With either nodules, they are little opacities on their lung when they go for an X-ray, or screening them because they've got risk factors for lung cancer in a primary care setting. And indeed, we have already started to see a number of positives in that group that are being followed up through the relevant lung cancer diagnostic pathways, which is excellent news. We also hope in the not too distant future to be signing our second region in the NHS, and a third region is in very advanced discussions. All of this complemented and supported by some positive work with NICE. So loads going on both sides of the business, Justin.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds like it's excellent progress. And do say, can you explain how Immune Insights and early CDT differ in their technology and offering, please, Adam?
You know what? The core platform is the same. We on the Oncimmune side of the business spent 20 years developing this platform, and then we have bolted on other tools that we acquired through the Protogen business that we acquired almost 2 years ago now in Germany, and created an end-to-end discovery, development, and validation pipeline to go from blank sheet of paper to product in the market using this unique niche biomarker class that's got some real advantages. Not only is it able to detect earlier than any other biomarker class disease, in particular cancer, but it's very, very good at picking patients most likely to respond positively to drugs for autoimmune disease, infectious diseases, and cancer, but also identify those patients that are going to go on to get side effects of those drugs. And you can imagine that's a really potent offering in the clinical trials development of many of these assets, and potentially has got an opportunity to go beyond that and support market access when these assets are ready for prime time. So at its core, it is the same platform, but we are monetizing it through two different revenue models. One, product into payers such as the NHS, and the other, services into pharmaceutical companies such as Roche and Genentech.
Yeah, and so you're making progress on both sides there, aren't you?
Making real progress on both sides. The nice thing is that both sides of the business have got different revenue profiles. They've got different risk profiles also, and so you can balance one against the other to provide your listeners, our investors, more surety over the revenue targets that we stand behind that are in the market from our analysts.
Yeah. And talk us through what you hope to achieve in these divisions. Are they complementary? What's the market opportunity out there? How are you going to capture that?
You know what, Justin? They are really complementary, but our Immune Insights business is really doing fantastic at the moment, and I hope that continues to go from strength to strength. We have a pipeline now of over 100 qualified opportunities. We have 19 live proposals out, totaling about 10.8, just shy of 11 million quid in near-term revenue, and we have in legal contracting just shy of 4 million quid. So very near-term contracts that will be driving revenue into this business. So we're very, very confident about our revenue target for this year.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds very good. And so you're confident that lots of growth going there. And talk about, if you can, things come up, inflection points, news flow. What can investors expect this year, Adam?
Well, I think on the product side of the business, more NHS contracts. As I said, we were uncertain at the beginning of this year how many of them we would be able to land. We knew that there was a lot of interest, that we did a huge amount of diligence work with NHS England throughout the summer period. NICE has now moved us into full diagnostic guidance, and we'll be coming out of that in the autumn of this calendar year. But we were surprised actually at the the interest given the distraction of the pandemic from healthcare systems persisting throughout last year, and now with East Anglia starting to be signed up, with Southampton, Leeds also signed up through the IDX Lung program we were able to announce in the period, and more trusts coming online imminently. We have a significant amount of enthusiasm for this part of the business. On the service side of the business, as I said, there are contracts that are in legal contracting, legal negotiation now, and there are contracts or proposals in commercial negotiation, and we have a number of proposals out with customers who we hope to be able to get over the line in the not too distant future. The key to that part of the business and news flow that investors need to be looking out for is the re-up of contracts with big names, the deepening of those relationships. As often the first engagement can be a couple of $100,000 to £1 or £2 million worth of revenue. Deepening those relationships can unlock significantly more revenue with each one of these customers.
Absolutely. Marvellous stuff. Adam, well, as always, if someone likes the sound of this and the progress you're making there and likes where you are in the space but are not yet following the story, give them 3 quick reasons why they should hit that follow button on your page on Vox and add Oncimmune to their watch list, please.
Yeah, no problem. So number 1, we're fully funded. We don't need to raise money to continue to maintain the operations of this business and drive revenue through ImmunoInsights and also our early CDT lung business. Number 2, we are at a point of inflection. As we announce deepening of these relationships, which I believe to be within the near term, the business is going to really catapult and go from strength to strength. And finally, this is the proprietary platform. It's a platform that has been developed over the last 40 years. 20 years on the Oncimmune side of the business, 20 years on the Protogen side of the business. No one else has anything like this. We were delighted the other day as we engaged with our colleagues at Roche to be told that they'd done a search. They'd done a search globally for companies that could do a similar sort of thing with this biomarker class, and they couldn't find anyone. So we stand alone, head and shoulders above everyone, as world experts in this biomarker class that has real clinical utility, real scientific utility, and more importantly, plenty of commercial validation.
Excellent stuff. Adam, good to chat to you, and hopefully we'll catch up in the not too distant future. Thanks very much.
Good to speak to you.
The Vox Markets Podcast with Justin Waite.
And joining me on the podcast right now is Alan Green, CEO of Brand Communications. Al, have a nice weekend.
Very good, thanks, Just. Yes, shame the cold weather has stopped. We had we're still enjoying the walks in the sub-zero temperatures, but of course yesterday that all stopped and the rain came down again. Because
I know it's a difference. What do you prefer? Is like did I tell you about the dog that got lost? Did I tell you about that? Last week on a Monday, now obviously last week was the coldest week we've ever had for the last 12 months. But our little groomer, the lady who's got a little business, she grooms up. We take our dog there and she cuts the dog and trims him. She's got a little poodle, and it's even smaller than our dog. And her dog walker took up the sort of mountain park, and just ran off, got spooked and just ran off. And disappeared. Couldn't find it. So it was freezing. It was literally, it was about, and that was last Monday. The temperature wasn't above 0 in the midday, So they said, God, we've got to catch it before the night time because I don't know what's going to survive. And basically, it's, miles of fields. It's a country park and farms and so they didn't find it. They all went up there, all calling for it. Day 2 happened, and it's like literally overnight it was like -6 actually, -7.
Yeah.
And so you got dog trackers out there. They said, "Well, he's dead. He's dead. Miko, this little poodle, he's dead. Got to be dead in this weather."
Yeah.
Day 3, someone spotted it and tried to get it. It run off again. Couldn't find it. So there's more hope. They got dog trackers up there and drones. Day 5, it's going to be dead now. You can't survive 5 days pretty much. And they put this crate up there with food in there. And the girl's boyfriend went up there, Ollie, and he called her. He said, he's in the crate. After six nights of minus, literally, sub-zero temperatures, he survived. Didn't even look dirty. I don't know what happened. So, but she was fraught. She was crying. It was her best friend, because she loves dogs. But that's so scary. And but amazing how it survived. Dogs, how they survive in that way. They must have found a badger set or something to keep themselves warm, you know?
Well, they're animals at the end of it, aren't they? And they have survival instincts, and even though they're sort of pampered pooches, as it were, I think certainly our two crazy Yorkshire Terriers would have one in particular would have a problem with keeping warm, but yeah, they do. They're animals, and I suppose survival instinct kicks in. I mean, who knows? Maybe at that point he was enjoying it, thinking, do you know what? I like being a wild animal. I fought off 3 foxes. Kept a badger at bay. I'm going to stay out in the wild.
I was going to say, I don't know why they didn't try the dog trap from day one, is a thing. And I said, what would be funny if you got the dog trap and you got like 6 foxes in there, no dogs, literally. But it was funny though, because in the video, the dog coming back in and being greeted by his own, and it was all over her. And it's funny. My wife took Lola, our dog, up there to look for them and help look out. And my dog chased this deer, went nuts and chased this deer across the field. And they came back with really bruised and hurt paws, his paws bleeding. And I thought, that other dog spent 6 nights wild, not a cut on him. He didn't even dirty. I think someone's been looking after him or something. It's ridiculous. But, nuts.
Well, you hear stories all the time nowadays, don't you, of these dog nappings? Because of the huge increase in pet ownership during lockdown and dog ownership. Of course, people are trying to get puppies, particularly pedigree puppies, and they can't find them for love nor money. So dogs do go missing. I mean, there have been several cases in Brighton and on the coast here of owners out walking their dogs, and all of a sudden some guy runs up and runs off with the dog. So I mean. Maybe it was maybe all the publicity, or maybe the dog was stolen. Maybe all the publicity resulted in this dog sort of being dropped off
Oddie definitely was up there because they saw it a couple of times running. Because apparently he's very skittish. My dogs are like that. My dog will come to anyone, so I wouldn't worry about it. But I mean, that dog apparently doesn't like strangers, which is a bit odd, and just runs away from them. So it was very hard. In the end, she said, "Please, no one come up and help." She didn't make the wrong decision, saying everyone come up and help because it was probably scared off by people. So in the end, it brought to the quarter. But I'm finding it very hard to seg into in stocks and shares from this, Hal. But I don't know what the link is. Survival of the fittest somehow. I don't know. Anyway, Al, what are we talking about? Let's go to stocks.
Okay, well, we've spoken about Synairgen a few times, epicode SNG. Of course, this is the Southampton-based biotech company that undertakes research into primarily respiratory diseases, including asthma, of course, COPD and RSV and others. And it uses either human in vitro models to test and undertake research from its in-house biobank samples, or ex vitro, which of course is actually working on matter within a laboratory environment. So throughout last year, the company had been working on developing a series of inhaled solutions for COVID, and it was announced in March that Synairgen, or Synairgen, I'll call them Synairgen, you guys call them Synairgen, were to start COVID-19 trial testing using the drug. Progressed, and then in July, of course, we had that amazing day where the share price, I believe, pretty well tripled in a day. Trial results, 380%. The share price rose. Very positive trial results. 80% positive response from the initial trial, and of course, from that point, Synairgen was very much on the map. We saw the highs in the share price during the year of around £2.60 a share, or 260p a share. At which point the shares started to move back. Obviously, the peak had been reached, and of course, back down to earth with the bump at the end of September with the numbers, the results, which showed an interim loss of 5 million. But nonetheless, the company was progressing with the trial data, and of course being appointed by the UK government and US governments to get involved in the trials. In October, the company raised 80 million, raising 7 million at £1.75p to fund the phase 3 trial results in up to 900 COVID patients and to ramp up production. And of course, we've seen rapid progress since that time. In November, an article was published in The Lancet detailing and providing affirmation, if you like, for the phase 2 clinical trials data for Synairgen's key drug. And we've moved on from there. The US FDA gave Synairgen's flagship SNG-001 fast-track designation and investigational new drug clearance, IND clearance, and at the same time in the UK with its COVID trial. With its COVID trial test, Synairgen was distributing and couriering trial equipment out to patients at home. During January, first part of 2021, the trials have commenced in the US for the inhaled interferon beta trials drug, and it was also further moved up the scale of importance with an urgent public health study designation, both in the UK and the US, and it completed in the UK a 120 COVID patient recruitment campaign to take part in the phase 2B trials at Southampton University, and. At the end of January, we've seen both in the UK and the US the SNG-01 progressing further, successful trials, and in the US in particular, the company announced today that the active trial that it's undertaking, which is the which effectively is the urgent public health study trial, will be developed and once the trial is completed, 28 days after that trial has been completed, they will expand the active trial seamlessly from phase 2 to phase 3. So this is all very positive process for Synairgen, which I think is reflected in the share price progress. We saw the shares as low as 82p in December, and of course they're trading at double that now, £1.90. So we're getting back towards those highs from last summer. Still gives Synairgen a market cap of 381 million. We've seen the highs, as I said, at £2.60 on the year, but the company is well funded to continue with these trials. And of course, if this is rolled out successfully in the US, UK, then I think we're going to see a market cap considerably ahead of where we are now.
What's going on there? Yeah, no, I'm silly though. For years, I've just said to myself, I should buy some Synairgen because, like I said, my son's got a lung condition. He's been to Southampton Hospital. We've been there several times, and I've known for a long time these guys were developing something there very special, and I just didn't do it. I literally, it went from 7 pence up to what, 24 pence. Ridiculous. My fault.
It's had a phenomenal run, and I met the CEO, Richard Marsden, at an event a couple of years ago, and had a long chat with him. Was very impressed with the company and plans for it. And obviously that was long before COVID, but they've done incredibly well, and it's great to see a British company at the forefront globally of battling this disease. And
I was thinking about I look at the wrong chart there. We've got Feb last year. It was literally 11 pence a share, and now it's 191. So it's been up to 250. So And
I think on the 17th of July, when the company announced the 20th of July when it announced the trial results, I think that still holds the record for the biggest ever one-day jump in the share price. I think it's 380% on the day. So. Anyway,
what do you mean for them? You mean not for any share?
Well, yeah. Not not for any share, but it's still being talked about, across the boards, and it's gone out into investor folklore, as it were. It's this is obviously one of the big successes, if you can put it in those terms, of the COVID era. The company's the trial results literally lit a fire underneath the share price on that day and sent it up 380%. But I think with the money it's raised now, the company's well funded, and it's a long way down the road to getting these trials out and distributed globally.
Yeah. Cool. Right. What's next? SMG. What's next?
Okay, well, following on from that, into hospitals, want to look at Destiny Pharma now. And Destiny Pharma is, of course, based in Brighton. It's at the Innovation Centre where we're based, and I know one of the founders there to speak to, and the company have done extraordinarily well. Again, very much a sort of the company came to market, and it was very much a flatline sort of share price performance, really until toward the end of last year, where we saw the shares sort of pop up in November. But we're now seeing that progress maintained with good reason. The company. The company primarily its primary drive and drug is the XF series of light activated antibacterial drugs, which are used to fight superbugs, of course, in hospital. We've heard of MRSA, C. difficile, and all of these bugs, and Destiny has been pioneering and working on this treatment. And again, this is the drug is applied through a nasal gel, and it has progressed through phase 2B trials, and in the final trial, it was seeking to recruit 125 patients. It's now recruited those patients, as announced on January the 21st, and once that trial is completed, which should be, I think, by the end of this month, then we'll see the results, and obviously once the phase 3 trial is there, then we should see significant participation in the US for testing this, given that's where the majority of the problems occur. It's a multi-billion pound marketplace worldwide, and Destiny really has the leading drug to fight that. Also, the company, as it progressed through the year, raised 11.5 million at 65p in November. And although the sort of drop off in the share price at the time, it's progressed back steadily since then. But the money was raised to make to continue funding the trials, but also to make an acquisition for to acquire the global rights to NDCDM3, which is a phase 3 trial asset for prevention of C. difficile recurrence. And of course, this is it fits seamlessly into Destiny's XF stable of drugs to fight hospital superbugs. C. difficile is right up there with MRSA and others. And again, it's particularly in the US, C. difficile is the leading cause of hospital-acquired infection, with approximately 500,000 cases each year. So, along with these two, we're going to see some the results of the phase 2B trial data at the end of this month, and the progression of the C. difficile assets, more or less side by side in terms of their timing and their runway up to launch. But there's also a COVID element to Destiny as well. In September last year, the company announced a joint venture with a company called Synairgen to develop COVID-19 immunity. Now, obviously, we have the trial, we have clinical companies working on human challenge trials such as Open Orphan. We have companies like Synairgen with a treatment for the chronically ill patients. And the next phase, of course, is as we go forward, we have the vaccines, which is developed, of course, by Pfizer, AstraZeneca, and Moderna and others. The next phase is, of course, to generate or work on something that will create immunity from COVID-19. And along with SporeGen, Destiny Pharma are working on developing a drug that uses the innate human immune system to produce a treatment. Again, this will be delivered via a nasal spray. At the same time, the company received an 800,000 Innovate UK grant, and this will be the joint venture with SporeGen is progressing, and we should see the first clinical trials in 18 months. So, in summary, the company are at a very exciting juncture. We're close to the phase 1 data for XF73, and of course the NTCDM3, the C. difficile, asset is also at a similar phase in terms of its runway, its progress down the runway. In addition, at the end of the January, the company hired a lady called Dr. Stephanie Buick as Chief Business Officer, formerly worked for Summit Therapeutics, a NASDAQ-listed company, and I think at this juncture right now, Destiny Pharma still has a market cap of just 76 million and trading at £1.27. So I think we're going to see a lot more progress from the company before too long.
Let's hope so, Al.
Well, yes, it's we talked Synairgen and the chronic treatment, but there are many strings to the Destiny Pharma bow, which is what which I think does make the share very attractive. It's also at a very good juncture, I think, in terms of its evolution. So it's going to be an exciting few months for the company.
How much cash they got?
They raised 11.5 million in November, so they have plenty of cash at the bank.
Grand left.
About 2,000. No, they're at the innovation centre, and the company's got a low cash burn rate, so you can be assured they are.
Is it good value there? The innovation centre, renting the places, they're quite cheap.
Yeah, it's well, I think the great thing about the Innovation Centre, and I've been there, but I had Share Crazy there back in the early noughties, and then Brand Communications subsequently. And the great thing about the Innovation Centre is there are so many different companies there. Plus, there are lots of grants and funding available. So as a tenant company, you're on the watch list, if you like, for potential investors, potential opportunities, collaborations, and so on, and that's how these innovation centres tend to work. And of course, they're all around the country. There's an innovation centre down in Southampton as well, down your neck of the woods, and Coventry and other places. So yeah, very successful formula. Set up primarily, of course, to spin out ideas developed at the university into the commercial sector. But that's it. Obviously, potential growth companies don't just start at the universities. And Sussex Innovation, I think, was one of the first companies to take in tenants outside of the uni spin out.
Cool. Right. Anything else, Al?
Yeah. Just want to draw your attention to.
You weren't quite sure then. You sound like. Yeah, I think so.
No, I was clearing my throat. Okay. Clearing my throat after taking a sip of coffee. So yeah. I want to draw your attention to a company called Mode PLC, who I spoke about on another podcast recently. And there's
no other podcast, Al. There's no other podcast.
There is another podcast. Okay.
Just this one.
Yeah, just this one.
Yeah.
Just this one. Okay. So Mode PLC, MODE. This is a company that have developed they're engaged in open banking and open finance, and they've developed an app that seamlessly allows customers to move cash around, and also to buy and sell Bitcoin at the lowest commission out there, 0.9%. But it's unique in that the app that they have, if you own Bitcoin, you can put it into a virtual Bitcoin jar, and they will pay you 5% per annum interest on Bitcoin, which is unique. I don't know any other company that does that. So that's what first drew my attention. But the company came to market in September last year, IPO'd, and we've seen steady progress from the company since that time. Came in at just at 51p, and currently trading today at 60p, giving it a market cap of 48 million. The company's run by a guy called Jonathan Rowland, who's well known in the financial circles. The co-founder with Gary Wilkinson, who's also a director on the board, co-founder of the Redwood Bank, which was the first ever in the cloud bank hosted on MS Azure. So anyway, MODE is the EPIC code. The company, as I say, IPO'd last October, and their role and their mission is to bring payment and the payment and loyal industries up to date into the next generation financial ecosystem. And the MODE Super app that I've just outlined is at the heart of this. It pays daily interest on Bitcoin, allows free and instant sterling deposits and withdrawals, qualified digital asset custody. So the security system is like Fort Knox, and it's already receiving glowing reviews on the App Store. They have a payment and loyalty solution for businesses as well, and the system they have gives them deep insights into the behavior of customers to enable engagement with them in regard to payments and loyalty. But it's centered very much around cryptocurrencies, centered very much around Bitcoin. And of course, we've seen all the new generation banking systems with Starling and Tide and others. This really moves it onto the next level, incorporating Bitcoin trading platform, but also enabling instant flash transfers from your bank into your account, or enabling you to move money around the world. The company already has partnerships with the Tencent WeChat Pay platform and Alipay, which are the world's largest payment platforms, and as soon as it came to market, it made a statement to market saying it had adopted Bitcoin as its treasury reserve asset. And of course, we all know what's happened by Bitcoin. And in essence, if you look at the series of RNS announcements issued by MODE since it came to market, it's just top right-hand corner stuff all the way. More new customers, record-breaking volumes in December, volumes up 500%, new users up 1,500%, and obviously the reserve currency, the reserve assets holdings have rocketed in value, the company announced this morning that it was launching an open banking powered payment solution in Q2, which would mean lower fees and instant payments for e-commerce merchants, and customers could buy services online simply by scanning a QR code in, what it's about is just making the movement of money, the trading in Bitcoin, as a seamless, instant process. And that's what people want to do nowadays. You know, the old systems. Somebody was talking to me the other day. I've got NatWest Bank, and if I set up a new customer, I've got to type a number into this old machine, and it just takes me forever. And sometimes I can't find the machine. Last time I tried to use it, it ran out of batteries. And this is where the old generation banking system's at. You know, it's in the past. MODE are bringing it up to date, and it's totally secure. And this is how the financial industry and banking is going to look in the future. So take a look at the company, take a look at the app. I mean, the shares are starting to push forward, hit a low this year, 41p in at the end of January. Since then, it's just been progressing higher. So I think this company's got a really bright future and well worth a look.
Nice, lovely. Yeah, MODE. In fact, the guy did contact me on LinkedIn recently, the main guy. But it's funny. I'm still waiting for PayPal in America now. You can buy Bitcoin via PayPal in America, but not in the UK yet on their app, which I think it's a game changer. That because who hasn't got PayPal? Everyone's got that. So that is the access there, the route to mainstream, isn't it, for Bitcoin?
Absolutely, and I think, but I think the fact that with Mode, if you have Bitcoin, you store it in your wallet, and you get daily interest paid into your Bitcoin jar. That's really nice, And obviously, where Bitcoin is just brushing $50,000.
Do they use the word jar? Is that what they use?
Yeah,
That's
Bitcoin jar,
isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's a cyber jar, isn't it? So
cyber jar. You just added that, didn't you? You just added that word.
Well, cyber jar.
They don't call it a cyber jar, do they?
Well, they call it a jar. I suppose in the same way that you have a piggy bank, So or
maybe I could sell a jam, cyber jam, in a cyber jar. I wonder if people buy that.
Well, nothing's new under the sun.
Jam tomorrow in a cyber jar. I could sell you jam tomorrow.
Jam tomorrow. Or you could buy crypto kitties instead. Have you heard of those?
Yeah, I know. It's insane, isn't it?
It's insane.
But even Elon Musk, Dogecoin, he's ramping that. He's one of the richest guys in the world, Elon Musk. He's ramping Dogecoin. Dogecoin started as a joke, and now it's worth so many billions. It's ridiculous.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy. But the thing is, this is the future of ownership of assets and moving assets around. Although, describing crypto kitties as an asset, I think is a bit bold. But nothing's new under the sun.
It's almost a bit old-fashioned these days. You just actually do some research on a company, and look at revenue and profits and cash flow. That's a bit old-fashioned these days. It's like these days kids just want to, just jump into any old crypto that's rallying, and I don't know.
Well, it's like the dot-com boom, isn't it? Go back to sort of 2000.
Do you think it's a bust? Do you think it's a pop then? It'll bubble? Because Bitcoin, everything, it's got to roll over sooner or later, isn't it? Surely.
I think it has to. I think it almost certainly will. But the fact that it's being, you've got MasterCard pushing their fees up now, so every reason sort of not to use them, and I think. I think the fact that you can now go and buy a Tesla car with Bitcoin, and there are various establishments around. I think it will correct. I don't think it'll crash completely because the dot-com boom crashed completely because 90% of the companies engaged in offering a dot-com service weren't viable businesses. It transpired that
let's be honest. Most of the cryptocurrencies aren't. There's thousands of them, and most of them are just scams,
I agree.
aren't they? They're basically hot air. That's all they are. If that, not even hot air. They're just air.
Well, they are.
Not even air.
But not even there.
I don't know what they are.
But I think. But Bitcoin's here to stay. Bitcoin is a genuine alternative currency, and it's just gradually receiving more and more validation. Obviously Elon Musk is a fan, but the fact is that you've got now got investment funds investing into cryptocurrencies and all the rest of it.
Yeah, listen. You go back 2 years, right? And I was banging on about Bitcoin. I did like 3 or 4 videos on Bitcoin saying you've got to have a bit of Bitcoin. Grab some Bitcoin now. It was literally less than $8,000 back then at Bitcoin. And I kept saying, even if you put 1% of your portfolio into Bitcoin, you've got to have it. It's been going 10 years now. It's never been compromised security-wise. It's going to be hit there. More institutions are getting into it. And I held it for like 3 months, got bored, sold. And then all of a sudden, about a month after I sold it started to rocket. Brilliant, excellent.
I did the same. I had a punt and had some Bitcoin, sold it at a profit, and I just thought, and then I think it went into a hiatus, and I just lost interest, and then all of a sudden, of course, late last year, boom, back it comes, and I feel sorry for those guys, rummaging around on rubbish tips looking for their old hard drive because they've got sort of 10 Bitcoins on there. It's and there was the story recently where I think some guy had 100 Bitcoins and he was trying to unlock his account, and he only had, I think, 8 attempts, and he'd tried 7 times and failed, and he was offered by some crypto whiz kid, some crypto WizKid offered to unlock his account, but wanted 25% of the Bitcoin in order to undertake it. So it's just gone mad.
The guy in Wales, was that the guy in Wales? The guy in Newport threw his hard drive out. It's in a dump somewhere in landfill, and it's worth about 50 million. And he's offered the council like 12 million to get it out. Something they said no, you're going to dig down there. So anyway, marvellous stuff. Al, thanks for that, fella, and we'll speak you next weeky.
Thank you, Jess. Speak you next week, mate. Cheers.
Okay, it's time for the top 5 most followed companies on Vox Markets in the last 24 hours. They are at 5, Mode Global Holdings. In fact, Alan talked about this in the podcast. At 4, in fact, is it rising? Yeah, up just 1%, 59 or 60 pence, pretty much. At 4, Microsake Systems up 1.85 pence to 0.275. At 3, MGC Pharmaceuticals up again 20%, pretty much to 4.7. At 2, Argo Blockchain. Wow, still rising 27% up, 181.5. I'm sure glad I sold those at like 5-6 pence. And at 1, Scancell Holdings up 54.55%. That's SCLP ticker, not tickle anyone. The biggest followed today. What's the size of those? 82 million market cap now, of course. They weren't previously because they've risen. Top 5 most read RNSs are as follows. At 5, Cimic Atlantis Energy operational update. At 4, Microsake Systems Framework Services Agreement. At 3, Zoetic International Progress Update. At 2, Synairgen, of course, Alan talked about those in the podcast. Dosing commenced in US Active 2 trial. And at 1, Omega Diagnostics, and that's direct shareholding there. You can check those lists out at voxmarkets.co.uk.
The Vox Markets Podcast with Justin Waite. Nothing in this podcast is intended as investment advice, and the people in this podcast may hold positions in the stocks they talk about. Do not buy anything based solely on a tip or recommendation. Please do your own research.